Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Nick.
And I'm 504 Saints on Instagram, or I'll Kyle Besson 504 on Twitter.
Awesome. From Top Notch Sports. And today we're going to go over the 2023 NFL, the New Orleans Saints. Okay, draft just happened. We're a few days out now. So, real fast, Saints, I want to ask you real fast, how are you feeling about, the draft as a whole?
I mean, there's a lot of things to like about it, and I can't say I love it, but I love what the Saints did. You play discipline, you draft what needs to be drafted. Nothing in that draft is like that. It's flashy, It was disciplined drafting, and like I said, you see teams like the Eagles, they draft very disciplined, and when you draft discipline, you build a championship roster.
Absolutely. And again, this Saints team is a team that I feel like never truly collapses. This is a team that's consistently competing, and that's the reason why my guy, I'm a Raiders fan, Derek Carr went to the Saints because he wants to go and try to pursue a championship. And I feel like this team's always in contention, and they had a pretty dang good draft. I don't love every pick, and we'll break that down in a few minutes, but I do like a lot of the picks. Okay, so real fast before we even talk about any of that, tell them a little bit about your page again, Instagram and Twitter. Tell them what you do.
All right, so my name's Kyle Besson. I run my page 504 Saints. I've run it for coming up on 6 years now. I started it when I was a 15-year-old kid. For the first 4 years of it, it's just kind of a fun fan page type thing. The last 2 years, I started seeking a career in journalism, and I'm really trying to turn this into a career. And I've been working hard on it since then. I've come close to getting my internships to really, really push this thing farther, but I base all of my stuff on, like, I would say I'm a very credible when it comes to everything I say. I really study this game. I really pay attention to it, and I know what I'm talking about when I'm looking at what I see.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's been a pleasure working with you so far. And everyone, give this guy a follow. You do some great content. Again, everything I've seen that you've done, it's top tier. And again, it's credible. It's definitely credible. I think you're going to do great. And again, hopefully, again, soon you get an internship where you can really make a living out of this. Because again, you do a good job. So, all right, that's that. Now let's go into the Saints. So let's start here. Okay. New Orleans Saints. The 10th pick is the Eagles now, right? I mean, that had to be, that's probably disgusting. But you get your first guy, Bryan Bresee, defensive tackle from Clemson. He's 6'5", 298, 32-inch reach and a 4'8", 640. He's my number 2 ranked defensive tackle. You get him all the way, late in the first round at 29. What do you think about Bryan Bresee?
So I mean, first of all, it was the biggest need in the draft. The Saints needed to add some depth there. You lost a lot of guys on the D line and off season, most notably, Onyemata, and now you got a big gap right there. I mean, you needed to address it. If it wasn't first round, it was going to be second round. It was going to be one of those. And I'm never really one of those types that's like, hey, you need to draft your biggest need. But when a player like Bryan Bresee is there, he's talented. You pick him. Bryan Bresee scares me a little bit. Most notably is his injury history. He has an injury history, and Saints draft a lot of these defensive line guys that have this injury history. Peyton Turner, he's never really on the field. Marcus Davenport's no longer a Saint. Last year was his first full season with the Saints, and he recorded point 0.5 sacks. So, I mean, it's scary, but Bruce's a real nice player. He ran a 4.86. But he runs like a big guy. He looks like a fat guy running, but he runs that 4.86, which is a good movement speed, especially for a guy coming there. He has great bend to him, flexible. It's a big guy, but he can bend nicely, really get there, and I'm really happy to see him.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a guy, like you said, fast. I mean, look, I mean, he, like you said, he looks like he's a big guy when he's running down the field. But 4.86, I mean, that's 93rd percentile for the defensive tackle position. This guy's a freaking nature athletically. Like you said, you mentioned that bend. My notes on him is that he has a ton of untapped potential. Do I think he's the most polished? No, but I had him ranked number 2 because I feel like if a proper coaching staff can get a hold of this guy, he could turn out to being the best. I'll be honest with you. A lot of people had Jalen Carter here, and the next guy is here. I feel like that gap was a lot closer. And I'll tell you this much too. For getting Carter at 9 was pretty good value for the Eagles, right? They got him pretty late for, where you're supposed to go. But I'll say something. For getting this guy at 29, that may be even better value. I mean, again, I don't think that, these defensive tackles are too far off. I really like this guy. To me, he looks very long and lengthy on film. Again, 32-inch arms, not extremely long, but decently. But again, you'd see the height. I mean, he is, tall. good. I said he has good tracking speed, which helps him pursue the quarterback and the running back. He does a good job on stunts. His size is a huge weapon for him, but I want to see his technique grow. That's what I continue to say. Technique grow, technique grow, technique grow. I think his physicals helped him immensely in college, so he needs to take that next step forward. If he gets proper coaching, he should be a force at the next level. I love this guy. I love the pick. I gave it an A minus, for the Saints. Again, it fills in a need. It's a really good player. I really like the pick. And again, you get this guy at 29. So that's a good pick for me. Anything else you want to mention about Bryan?
Uh, Nothing too big. I'm just saying, like you were like he gets that right coaching, and I mean you're giving him Dennis Allen. Now, if Dennis Allen isn't a great head coach in a lot of Saints fans' eyes, I disagree. But Dennis Allen isn't a great head coach. He is one hell of a defensive coordinator, and I mean this Saints defense has been competing, and even when you have Jameis Winston as your quarterback, Trevor Siemian, your team is still competing because you have Dennis Allen there. So I believe 100% Brian Bresee can get that coaching that he needs, and the opportunity is there. It's for him to take. It's for him to take that step.
I 100% agree with you. Again, this is a guy that, has all the potential. I think Dennis Allen's a perfect fit. And again, a lot of guys, oh, well, Nick, you have this guy ranked 5 or you have this guy ranked 7 on your board. Well, this is a guy I have ranked 2, and I say untapped potential. Has a ton of it. And if he's with the right coach, I think he'd be a force. Well, he's with the right coach. So there's a very good shot that this guy could end up being the best defensive tackle in this entire draft class. And again, I know people are going to think I'm nuts because Jalen Carter is supposed to be this, freak of nature. But I'm telling you, Carter did go to the Eagles, so I'll probably end up being pretty dang good. But Bryan Bresee, I just love this guy's tape, and I think that he could be really good, especially with Dennis Allen.
180. 180, set.
Let's go to the next guy, Isaiah Foskey. This guy, for me, real fast, I'll just go over his, his physicals here. Guy, bigger guy. I actually don't have his notes for some reason. But let me ask you this. Pick 40, you bring him in. What do you think about him first? And then I'll go back to me.
Well, actually, the thing about Isaiah Foskey is before the draft, I didn't look much into him. I mean, I'll be honest, I had a lot of other guys I was looking at, and I really looked over Isaiah Foskey, but I got some of them. He's a 4.64 40. His speed is what really wins when he's attacking the quarterback. He doesn't, you don't get that bull rush a lot. He's good with his hands. He's fast, and that's really where he won. But I mean, there's some reps against Paris Johnson where he's completely sucked out of the play. Paris Johnson did a great job with him. He's the all-time sack leader in Notre Dame history. I mean, that's impressive. I mean, right there. I mean, that's what gets you to look at him. I watched a lot of his tapes. I like Isaiah Foskey. And watching his draft video, you probably didn't see it. He got drafted, and it got me hyped up because he just got really hyped, tears in his eyes, but he's screaming, "Let's go!" I mean, that was some fire right there. I loved watching it. Some of his sacks did seem to come through coverage. So the quarterback's not getting rid of that ball. That defense is doing real good, and so there's a few sacks right there that came, and it's like, okay, well that's not really you. You did what you needed to do, but your DBs did exactly what they need to do, and that's how you got that sack. But I mean, it's promising. You don't lead your schools in sacks over your career if the talent isn't there. So the talent is there.
For sure. And again, like you said, this guy, I actually have him written down. He ran a 4.58 according to what I got.
Oh,
4.58. So it
maybe.
might be a little bit faster too, which is a hell of a, that's one they only adds to his stuff. 34-inch arms, I mean, 34 is pretty damn, that's pretty dang good. They say here 69th percentile. So 50 is right, right in that middle range. Long arms. Again, 40 speed, 91st percentile, broad jump, 90th percentile. Here are my notes on the guy. Phenomenal rip move, okay? And he has great, it allows him to come freely around the edge. He does a good job hunting down the quarterback, but I want to see him develop more moves. So again, I kept on seeing the rip move, rip move, rip move. I want to see him develop a little bit more of moves. He has great pursuit to the quarterback, and again, that kind of adds up with him having that 4.58 speed. I mean, that's fast as hell. But mainly, like I said, I want to see him hunt down the running back a little bit more often. So I see him hunt down the quarterback a lot. Don't see him pursue the running back as much. His best ability right now is his pass rush. He does not make a huge impact in the run game. I'll tell you something. I think this might be one of the best pure pass rushers in the entire draft. I want to stress that. I didn't have him ranked. He was my 10th ranked edge rusher. I mean, you got him at 40. This was a loaded, edge rushing class. But I'll tell you something about him. I had him ranked higher than Nolan Smith. Okay. And everyone's kissing Nolan Smith's ass. I like this guy. As a pure edge rusher, okay, he doesn't run a 4.38, but this guy, I think that he's a better pass rusher than Nolan Smith day one on the football field. So that's my thing on him. I really like Isaiah Foskey. I think it's a good fit for you guys. He has lost Marcus Davenport, so I think this is a really good, filler for you guys. And again, as a pure pass rusher, I think he help out. I rated this one a B+ personally after the draft pick. Is there anything else you want to add on Foskey?
Actually, it wouldn't be about Foskey right here. I loved what you said about the Nolan Smith, and I mean, if there's any Saints fans watching this, I need to get this out because I saw it through the whole draft process. I saw it with the Bresee pick. Nolan Smith is not a New Orleans Saint player. He would never fit into the scheme. He's too small. The Saints don't look for that. I mean, he's a freak of nature, but he I think he weighed like 230 maybe, or maybe 230 or around something like that. He's strong, he's fast, but he is not a New Orleans Saint. He wouldn't fit in the system. Dennis Allen just doesn't draft guys like that.
Absolutely, yeah, and absolutely, you're 100% right. He weighs 238. This is just for reference, okay? He's a 15th percentile in height, 2nd percentile in weight, and 17th percentile in arm length. That's Nolan Smith. Now, again, he has that 99th percentile in 40-yard dash, but that's the only reason why this dude skyrocketed up boards. So I want to restate this: 15th percentile in height, 2 percentile in weight. Okay. Foskey, on the other hand, okay, now again, I'm not saying Foskey's a freak of nature, like he's going to be 99th or anything, but again, just physically, 72nd in height, 48th in weight, which means that he's average in weight and above average in height. Nolan Smith is 15-2, well below average. So you want to talk about a guy that, if we're looking at this just from like who's the more conservative pick, who's the guy that, is a typical guy, Foskey is by far that typical guy that's going to produce in the NFL. Nolan Smith, absolutely not. And everyone's going crazy over Nolan Smith. That's honestly probably my least favorite Eagles pick that they had. Next guy, Kendre Miller, 71st overall pick. You bring in a running back from TCU. What do you think on him?
Well, first of all, I loved Kendre Miller through the whole process. I've made 4 mock drafts, including the one I did with you. I had the Saints draft Kendre Miller in 3 out of 4 of these. I loved watching him. He was my dream pick. I mean, if there was one guy I wanted them to draft, it was Kendre Miller. I notably usually had them going in the 4th round. The Saints got him in the 3rd. But, I mean, when Jahmyr Gibbs goes at 12, you got to start getting your guys. So we had to get him in the 3rd. He runs very funny as well. I mean, we talk about Bryan Bresee runs like a fat guy would run. Kendre Miller runs like he has a limp, almost like a notable limp. It's not a limp. He's a very high runner, and maybe that's something you don't want. Maybe that's something you do want. I'm not really sure on this. But one of the biggest things when watching him that I liked was he has great balance. And my comparison for his balance, before the Saints drafted him, this had nothing to do with it. He had Alvin Kamara-like balance, break tackle. It was a finesse when he broke your tackle. He wasn't running through you, knocking you down. You just couldn't tackle him. It was almost slippery. And that was I saw a comparison that someone on Twitter also agreed with. They said it was an Alvin Kamara-like balance and a Jonathan Taylor-like burst. And that's a pretty good comparison like that. Those are 2 guys you would love to have a comparison on. He can use some work in the receiving game, but I mean, you're in the Saints system. You're gonna get your chances at the receiving game. And right now, the Saints running back room: Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Kendre Miller. That's a good. And Alvin Kamara is going to get suspended at some point in the season, so it's going to be Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller is going to get his shot to shine there.
Yeah, and again, like honestly, that's a nice 3-headed monster. A little bit, like I said, 3rd round, right? I mean, I'm sure we want to see 4th, but like you said, if it's your guy, you go get him. And I'm never going to knock a team for getting their guy. Now, I had this graded as a C. I know about. It's not a bad pick. Okay, I want to make this clear. Is that my job is to try to be as unbiased, and I have to have certain algorithms and stuff like that, and all these drafts. I mean, I saw someone the other day come out and say the Lions have the best draft. Totally disagree. But all of us analysts, we all have specific algorithms we got to follow, which made me ultimately give this pick a C. But if this is your guy, I always support the teams going and getting the guy. And again, you like this guy a lot too. 211, 215, didn't run a 40. To me, I literally say, I mean, I don't know if you guys can see my notes right here on Kendre Miller, but I literally say, this kid's film stood out to me, okay? It did stand out to me. I said I think he looked really good, especially because he knows how to use his blockers and he has great vision. Know who else was like that last year for me? And this is going a little bit not off track, but last year the running back, I'm trying to think of his name right now. I can't think. The guy on the Steelers, the backup running back last year, he did pretty dang good for the Steelers. It was undrafted too. Running
Is it Jalen Warren? Yeah.
Jalen Warren, that's it.
Yeah.
Jalen Warren. All right, Jalen Warren, same thing. Really knew how to use his blockers, had great vision, had great pop. Kendre Miller reminded me of that. Now, Kendre Miller is definitely better than Jalen Warren as a prospect, but again, it's just somebody that it shows you that even an undrafted guy that has great vision and knows how to use his blockers can go extremely early. I said his elusiveness was pretty good, and he had no quit. I think his break, he has breakaway speed. Others disagree with that. I do think he has that breakaway speed.
If I can interrupt you real quick, I have it in my notes right now too. I mean, he's faster when you watch him than what you see. He's got 4.58. Well, I got a 4.58 40. That might be on his pro day. I know you said you didn't have one. He has a 4.58 40. But he runs faster than what that number shows. And it is that breakaway speed. You see someone like when he hits that when he hits the hole, he runs through that hole. He gets some speed. Now, acceleration, or once he's running, someone's probably going to keep up with him. But he'll get past you, and then maybe when you'll catch up. So he looks faster than what the number showed.
Absolutely. And I said the main thing about him that I love, he is so good, like I said, using the blockers. So what's really good when you know how to use your blockers? Screen passes. He's going to be so good in the screen game. You give him the ball and you give him a few blockers to run behind. Holy crap, this guy's going to be special. And again, the Saints do use a lot of that a lot. And like I said this too, we mentioned him, not being great in the pass game right now, right? You said he has some work to do. The thing about him is this. You got Alvin Kamara right now can also really catch a football pretty dang well. So do you really need, another? He can still do it. I think he'll be good enough. But you got a really good three-headed monster. This is just another piece of the puzzle. Jamal Williams is phenomenal in the goal line situations. You got Alvin Kamara who can do literally anything you ask him. And now you bring in Kendre Miller, who I also feel like can fight for a lot of extra yards. He can do a little bit of everything. And again, one other thing I want to mention is spin move. Not bad at all either. I really like his spin move. So that's that with him. Anything else you want to add about him?
Nothing else. Again, I want to call out to Saints fans real quick. 2017, Saints drafted Alvin Kamara. In that same offseason, they signed Adrian Peterson. You probably like that's like so. We had Adrian Peterson, Mark Ingram, and Alvin Kamara in that roster. And I'm just saying, this season we signed that veteran. You got Jamal Williams, who obviously isn't Adrian Peterson, but he had a good season last season. You draft that running back in the third round, just like they did with Kamara, Kendre Miller, and you have your longtime starter. So who knows? Maybe Kendre Miller. Maybe it's a prophecy. Maybe maybe he develops into that.
Absolutely. I mean, again, anything's possible. And again, like I said, this is a good pick. It just fills in, it gives you more depth. And again, like you said, Alvin Kamara going to get suspended. So you need another running back in that room. You bring in the guy in the third round. Again, good pick for the Saints. Next guy, fourth round pick, 103, Nick Saldiveri, offensive tackle from Old Dominion. I didn't get a chance to watch him. What do you know about him?
So, first thing in the notes, I wasn't familiar with him. I didn't really know much about him. Saints traded up, so I watched a lot about him. Apparently, he was like a hot name to sneak into day 2. He could have gone into round 3, things like that. I wasn't familiar with him, and I didn't really do hard research on my tackles until later rounds. I was looking more round 6, round 7, round 5 at my tackles. But what I have about him, very versatile. He can play every single position on your line. He could go from tackle to guard to center. He can plug him. You could plug him in any of there. He'll work 6'6", 307 pounds is what I have for him. He's important because both Saints guards right now, Cesar Ruiz, they just declined his 5th-year option. He's got to earn. He's on a contract year. Andres Pete, he will not be with the Saints after this year. His contract that's just what his contract is. It is a contract that you're going to cut him. He's not going to be here next season. He was important. He's going to play guard for the Saints most likely. He might get some time this year, maybe not. I believe he has some type of injury with him right now, and he may not be ready until mid-season or something like that. I'm not 100% on that, so, take it with a grain of salt. But he will play guard for the Saints when it is time for him to play.
Yeah, and again, this is a pick like you just said. So just filling me in with knowledge here, considering you just said how versatile he is. It's so good to get a guy like that on your football team. Again, I don't know anything about this guy. I didn't get a chance to watch him during my process. I watched over 250 players this year. He wasn't one of the guys, so I can't grade this pick. I usually just leave it as a question mark because I can't say, oh, I don't know who he is, so I'm going to give it a D. I mean, that's just not fair. It's not right. I always leave my guys as question marks. I don't know. This could be the greatest pick ever. Could be a horrible pick. Could just be a depth piece that's solid for you guys for years. So again, since he has versatility, I like this pick. From what you told me, and again, we'll wait and see. Next guy you bring in, okay? I am a little bit familiar with this guy, quarterback from Fresno State, Jake Haener. Okay, this is a guy, Fresno State now. You got two Fresno State guys in that quarterback room. What's your opinion on Jake Haener?
My opinion, I mean, again, I didn't watch many quarterbacks until those late round, and Jake Haener actually was very slept on in the draft. Again, I looked a lot into him. A lot of people liked what he could do. But I'm probably gonna hit you with some facts right now. This is just really fun to see, and I loved looking at it. You know who his idol was growing up and why he wears number 9?
Drew Brees, right?
Drew Brees, idol growing up, Drew Brees. He grew up a Saints fan. He compares, well, now he doesn't compare, but you could compare his game. He doesn't have that crazy arm. His accuracy isn't great either, but his arm strength isn't that great. He's just a smart football player. His physical tools aren't helping him in his game, but you can see that, that 2020 Drew Brees, that weaker arm wasn't really pushing it down the field, but he was very accurate. Jake Haener can work on that accuracy. He can have that. You can't really, work on that arm too much. That talent is going to be there. You can hit the weight room, but it's not always going to be there. But he can work on that. He could work on that accuracy. He could dissect defense. Now, one thing that I liked watching was him in the red zone. His jump ball was immaculate, and I will pay to see Jake Haener throw a jump ball to Michael Thomas at the 2-yard line. That was something I want to see. I mean, he looks really good. I mean, love the story of growing up. Drew Brees was his idol. Hopefully, he actually gets a chance to play. He's a little older. I think he's 23, 24.
Yeah.
So he's a little older. Hopefully, I get to see him actually suit up for the Saints. I'm excited for preseason just to see him. And he's a pocket passer. He'll sit in the pocket and take the hit. You can take that as a good or a bad thing because he is a smaller guy. But his best highlights are him actually moving around in the pocket and sometimes getting out the pocket.
Yeah, and again, like I said, you summed that up perfectly. I'm gonna be honest with you, and again, I've been watching Carr for years. I always compare Derek Carr, like, I've had so many debates with Derek Carr over the years. Like, everyone's telling me he sucks. He's this. Derek Carr reminds me a lot of Drew Brees. And he bigger arm than Brees, like he can throw it down the field. But I mean, you go back and watch Carr, the dude's very accurate. He is. I'm telling you, he's not gonna really miss much. It's usually gonna be right on the money. Going all the way back to 2014 to 2015 to 2016, the year that he was an MVP candidate. And you want to talk about jump balls too. Like you can't have a better role model. I mean, again, all right, he loved Drew Brees. Well, Derek Carr's that other guy that's like, he's a great guy on the field, a great guy off the field, and he's going to help this guy learn. And not only that, he is another really good, go get it guy, especially on the goal line. You go back and watch, what him and Crabtree did. You can go back and watch a segment. I would never forget it. Them and the Chiefs. It was a 2-point conversion. 3 times in a row, Derek Carr converts. It was like 3 penalty, and they ultimately pull it off. It's just Carr's clutch gene and red zone ability. Jump balls, back shoulder fades, go get it, 50-50 balls. I love it. And again, Jake Haener does, exemplify a lot of those things as well. All right, next guy, Jordan Howden, safety, 5th round. What do you know about him?
So Jordan Howden, pretty cool story. He walked on. He earned a scholarship on his 2nd season. He actually ended up starting his 1st season as a walk-on due to injuries. He's best as a run defender. He moves well, ran a 4.43. Smart player. He played 5 seasons in college, had 58 tackles in 2020, which was career high. Only 10 missed tackles last 3 years. He's a sure tackler. He's going to make immediate impact on that special teams. And one thing that we know about the Saints is they are actually really good at developing special teamers. JT Gray and Justin Hardy were both Saints special teams guys, both Pro Bowl special team guy. Arthur Mollett also was a Saints special team guy for a while. They like their special teams guy, and Jordan Howden, he if he doesn't do anything for the Saints, he'll be a great special teams for him.
Absolutely. And again, this is another thing I didn't watch, but right now, I mean, you guys, you attacked a lot of I mean, again, you went Saliveri, Kendry Miller, Jake Haener, but then you go Howden. I mean, what do you think about that defense? I mean, I do like that. Like Dennis Sally is a defensive-minded guy, but he's not afraid to continue to take defense and develop these guys. So what do you think about that as a whole?
I mean, it's just good to have good insurance. I mean, Matthew Tyrann Matthew is 30 years old. Marcus May is 30-year-old. That's your two starting safeties. Both are 30 years old. And in football, that's old. I mean, that's getting old. That's getting up there. So you need some people that you can plug and play just in case injuries happen, because the older you are, these injuries start to accumulate and take you out longer. So getting a guy that can hop in, play some ball for you. And like I said, he's better as a run defender, kind of like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, like something like that. Or his coverage isn't where Chauncey's was at tight ends and stuff, and that's something he needs to work on. But you've got great coaches to learn from.
Again, and I think some of the best in the league. All right, and then sixth round, the last pick, 195, 6'3", 198, 4.47, 40-yard dash. A.T. Perry. What do you think about this guy?
I think AT. I liked them in the fourth, and I liked them in the fifth. I think that was. I remember sitting in this group chat with us. I was like, hey. I think A.T. Perry could be a guy for the Saints in the fourth. He fell to the fifth. I'm like, hey, I like A.T. Perry in the fifth. We got him in the sixth. Traded away Adam Trotman. Adam Trotman was not doing much as a Saint. Mainly used him as a run blocker, and he wasn't very good at that either, including a bunch of false starts. So you got rid of Adam Trotman. You get a guy, A.T. Perry. Great depth at the worst. Michael Thomas is on a 1-year deal. He has not been able to stay healthy. If one of our receivers goes down, your receivers are Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave, and Traquan Smith or someone. You want someone else who you can plug in right there. A.T. Perry, I love the pick. I wanted him. He can be Michael Thomas's successor if that is need to be, or he could be a good plug guy. I think that what you can do with A.T. Perry too is I really like Chris Olave and I really like Rashid Shaheed. A.T. Perry is not taking snaps away from them. Just different type of receivers. I know a lot of people are worried. Why are we drafting receiver? I want Rashid Shaheed to develop. Rashid Shaheed will develop because A.T. Perry is completely opposite.
Yeah.
He is a little. He needs to work on his actual jump ball. He isn't Michael Thomas when it comes to that jump ball. He needs to work on that. But 26 touchdowns in the last 2 years. He's a reception machine like Michael Thomas. 71 receptions this season, 81 last season. He has a good route tree, but like I said, uses his hands to break open a lot. That won't slide in the NFL. He gets away with a few push-offs. I've watched this tape. He's pushing off a little too much. The NFL is going to call that.
Yeah, the few things I noted down was he does a good job attacking on curl and comeback routes. He does a good job keeping his toes in bounds on the sideline. He does a good job putting his body in front of the defender to attack the football. Like you said, there's some things that this guy can improve. But again, for a 6th-round pick, 6'3", 198, and like you said, this is a totally. I'm so tired of that. You got A.T. Perry, Michael Thomas, and Bryan Edwards now too. All three bigger receivers. They're all their own type of receiver. Chris Olave. Those other guys, different types of receivers. He's not going to be taking snaps away from them. All right, that's a draft. What do you think as a whole? I mean, if you had to give it a grade, what would you kind of give it?
Let me go unbiased, okay? Jake Hayner in fourth, probably aren't too excited with. You could still, fourth round has a lot of talent. Jordan Howland at round 5, again, you could do more than just really addressing that special teams. I like A.T. Perry. I mean, I think a B plus is. I mean, those first 4 rounds, you're getting players who can make an immediate impact.
Yep.
Immediate impact, and real good players too. Around 6, A.T. Perry is a steal. That's a steal. Those middle or lower middle rounds, there's still talent there. You would choose not to grab them. So I think you could have done better there, but I like both the players for the long run. It's just you need a win right now.
Absolutely. I would also probably give you a B plus too. Again, you didn't draft superstars with every pick, but man, you got a lot of guys that can be role players and stuff, and you got them at good value. All right. So ultimately, again, my main thing is this. You don't need to draft 5 superstars for your team to ultimately get a guy, to get an A plus as a draft grade. If you get guys at good value, that's all that truly matters. Now, again, B plus, that might be one of my higher grades. Again, that doesn't mean that you guys got necessarily the most talented guys. It doesn't mean that you drafted 3 Pro Bowlers. It just means that I really feel like overall, when you go back to the very first pick, Bryan Bresee, I think he's going to be an instant starter. Foskey going to be an ultimate impact, rushing off the edge. Kendry Miller, going to make an impact year 1. Nick Saliveri, you got a versatile guy that might be a role player for the next 4 years, even if it's just 4 years. If you get a 4th-round pick that can last you 4 years being a role player, that's a great value pick. Jake Hayner, man, if he can develop to be your future quarterback, this is a hell of a draft. Jordan Howland, I don't know much about, so we'll have to wait and see. But A.T. Perry is a guy I really like too. So ultimately, like I said, I don't know how many superstars, I don't know how many Pro Bowlers. I don't care about none of that. I think this draft class is ultimately going to help your team win games this year and a few years from now. Is there anything else that you want to add to this entire thing?
I mean, I don't think there's anything left to say, man. I appreciate you having me, man. I love doing this, and that's what I say. Hit me whenever you got time to make Saints content or anything there. I'm here. I study it. I'm ready to talk about it. I can talk about it all day if you give me the chance. So, man, I appreciate you for having me here. I love the mock draft. Obviously, glad I was able to grab Kendra and A.T. Perry just like the Saints did. And I'm excited to see where it all goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we appreciate having you on. And again, this should be a good partnership. Again, you're a Saints guy, so I'm sure that we're gonna have a few comments. Hopefully, again, it's gonna be tough because it's gonna be some of our Saints viewers, which we might only have 20 Saints people, 30 Saints people right now. But if you can get your Saints guys here, and then we can also add ours, man, oh man, we're gonna have a lot of people in the contents, in the comments asking for you to come on and do content more often. So again, we appreciate you. One last time, plug your pages, let them know about you one more time.
All right, so I'm 504.saints on Instagram. That's where you'll see me post. That's my main page. I'm on Twitter too, Kyle Besson 504. That is where I let stuff out. I know that's where I'm opinionated is all on my Twitter. If you want to be a journalist nowadays, you have to have that. You have to have that Twitter. So that's where I'm active on there too.
Absolutely. And again, guys, I don't care what fans you are. I don't care if you're freaking, Raiders fans, Eagles fans. I don't care if you're the same fans in the same damn division. Go give this guy a follow. You do a great job, great content. And again, I appreciate this, and I think that we're going to do good going forward. So that's all from us. We'll see you guys soon. Peace. We are Built Better.